So I'm watching your game, Jerry, this week, and I'm sitting there, and I'm seeing players. Dak made a couple of good throws, and players couldn't see it. And they talked about curtains. And my gut feeling was, well, if anybody's going to bring in curtains, it's going to be Jerry Jones. He's a progressive, smart guy. So let's talk about that. When you built the stadium, stadiums aren't perfect. There's a little glare. Have you considered a curtain?
Well, first of all, there are no surprises here. And this is our 7th year, and we've had this sun setting thing at various times, just to remind us all that it happens different at each time of the year, it happens different at each time of the day, and certainly happens different on different kinds of cloud cover. So it's really fractional. Anything that we do usually has an offsetting negative to it.
Yeah.
So it's just a question of, do you take the gain and with the bad? In this particular case, up until now, we haven't seen anything that was worth that kind of attention.
Okay. So I want you to take me back that when you draft Dak Prescott, and Jerry, you go to a lot of practices, you watch a lot of film. Give me the moment, and it was probably just some piece of film or practice, when you turned to your son or Jason Garrett and said, I think Dak Prescott's a lot better than a 4th-round quarterback.
Well, I think that when I saw Scott Linehan talk about Dak's interview, his visits with other coaches at the Senior Bowl, who said that Dak was just outstanding at the Senior Bowl in Mobile. He had won the most valuable player. I think when Scott Linehan said, I can win with him, he's got it. He does have it.
Right.
Then that caused you to really think, well, that's the guy that's going to be spending the most time with him. He's as sold on him as anybody I've ever seen. We are talking about a 4th-round pick here. What's wrong with this? But I think the thing has borne out the most is that he just had and exudes a good feeling. He exudes energy, he exudes positiveness, and he's got a huge work ethic. He'll outwork you.
You know, Jerry, the players I talk to, including Troy Aikman, consider you a friend. Of all the owners in the NFL, players speak the most highly about Jerry Jones. You have had a terrific relationship. Both have benefited, you and Tony Romo. You may have to have a very difficult decision with a person you not only consider an employee, but a friend to your family. Is that the part you hate about sports and football?
Well, first of all, I don't have one of those that I don't have more positives than negatives. Obviously, when you're in the fray, when you're in the middle of your occupation, your business, you have a decision maker on both ends, whether it be a player or whether it be someone in my role as general manager and owner, then you're going to have angst. But I'll give you an example. I was negotiating with Michael Irvin, and Michael had come in about his contract, and he was pretty solid where he was. And he gave me the number and looked up at me, and not his agents. And I looked over at him, and I said, Michael, there's an old West Texas town called El Paso. El Paso. I can't go there. Michael starts laughing. He says, give me the damn piece of paper. He signs it, and there we go. But you work through those things.
Yeah, Jerry Jones, owner of the Cowboys. By the way, his great stadium, AT&T, and it is unbelievable. I was there for Ohio State, Oregon this weekend. Canelo Alvarez and Liam Smith, WBO Junior Middleweight World Championship, Saturday, HBO pay-per-view, tickets on sale. And Jerry is very charitable. A big chunk goes to the Dallas Police Department following that tragedy in Dallas. You've always been very charitable. I saw that Roger Goodell hinted that the kickoffs might go away. And again, you're a guy that's willing to change. You know, Jerry, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I don't watch games for kickoffs. But are you going to argue for it or against it? Where do you fall on that?
Well, I think that I'm for keeping the element of contact in the game, unequivocally. On the other hand, let's make that as safe as we can.
Okay.
There's no question that the farther apart you get, the more time you have to run at each other, the more the collision. But how you make that collision, how you position yourself in that collision is huge. It can work. We've been having kickoffs years and years and years when you didn't have the concussion issues that you have today. So there are other issues. There's face masks. There's many other things to consider. So the kickoff is a great traditional part of the game. Is it the game itself? Of course not. It's not the game. If it can be safer and prevent injuries, then we have to look at it.
You know, I brought up a theory this morning. I said, Tony Romo's been your leader, but now you have a young quarterback. And Dez Bryant is very emotional, very strong-willed, willful young player. Are you concerned at all that the strong Dez Bryant could overwhelm Dak Prescott, call him, text him, say, get me the ball, get me the ball? Because Tony Romo, when Dez came to the Cowboys, Tony was the man. Dak is a younger player, perhaps more vulnerable to an outspoken, emotional star. Does that concern you, that relationship, at all?
Well, first of all, you're so logical in how you outlined the question. You really are. The only thing is that I think Dez Bryant is one of the most compassionate. He's one of the most understanding with his teammates and the foibles and frailties of a teammate. So he is not that way. There are players that could be that way, but he's not that way. When we went to Dak because of Romo's injury, Dez was the first one that on a personal basis grabbed me by both my shoulders and said, we can win with him. We believe in him. We're going with him all the way. And so you have to understand Dez. He has some foibles, unlike the rest of us that are perfect, but he does not have that foible of not understanding his role as a team player.
Well, Jerry, you have your charity is noteworthy. Dallas Police Department, following that awful tragedy in Dallas. There's a fight this weekend that will headline it, but a big chunk goes to the Dallas Police Department. Canelo Alvarez, Liam Smith, WBO Junior Welterweight World Championship Saturday, HBO pay-per-view. Tickets on sale now. It is another massive event for an owner and a stadium that has really changed the game for big national events. And by the way, I have not seen your other new facility that your daughter told me about, but I've seen Stephen, your son's office on Instagram or Twitter. That's unbelievable. I got to ask you before we go, when you've built the empire you have and you put out all that money to AT&T and all these new facilities, don't you ever worry that they're not going to hit, that you're going to build it and nobody's going to come? Isn't there any fear? You build this energy business, this oil business, this cowboy, and then you put it all on the line with these massive projects. Don't you ever have a night you don't sleep well?
Yes. As a matter of fact, when I bought the Cowboys, if you and I had been having this talk off air and I was trying to hold a glass, I would have needed both hands and it would have still been spilling whatever liquid. Okay? You know what was drawn up, and I was scared to death. I do run scared, and I do know what it's like to not be able to pay. I've been there. And so, no, I don't want to get there, but the NFL sports has crazily inspired my activities, and it makes me rationalize what normally would be risk. I did it when I bought the Cowboys, I did it when I built this stadium, and I sure have done it with the Star. And when you're running like that, they just seem to bounce off your thighs. And so I think a lot of it, Sam Walton told me one time, he would get up and to sell the goods in Walmart, he would have pep rallies and have all of his employees there. And any customers that wanted to come could come. And so passion, will, believing in it, that works in tangible things as well.
Alvarez, Smith, Saturday, AT&T Stadium. I love when you come on the show, Jerry. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Colin. I do too.